A success is a team success, but a failure is a PM's failure. Product management is more art than science. You kept it in the backlog, but forgot to mention it in the PID.
Welcome to another episode of the Meesho. I am Vaibhav, and today's episode is going to be all about product management. We have with us Gagan, who is the group product manager at Meesho and has worked with multiple startups ranging from mid to large scale startups and currently impacting millions of users through his work at Meesho. Product management in itself is a key role in most product tech startups because it defines the user growth, the journey, the features, and so on of the product which the startup is working on. It's definitely a hot space to look out for, and we will discover the journey of becoming a product manager, the nuances, the goods and the bads. So hear it from Gagan himself. Well, before you move on to the podcast, ensure that you hit the subscribe button so that you never miss another update from the channel. Let's dive in. Why don't we start with the most important thing? And the most important thing about a PM is a PM joke. So, why don't you start with a PM joke? I have a PM joke, but it's in the backlog, so you can go ahead.
Sure. You kept it in the backlog, but forgot to mention it in the PID.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So this is a PM joke that I made actually.
Okay.
This is a joke that I, as well as almost every PM that I see when they have a conversation after testing with an engineer, have. यार ये PID में mention नहीं था और जब ये आता है तो लाइक माय नर्व्स आर लाइक अरे यार इतना तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट दिया था, अगर तुम चाहते हो 100% केसेस रखे अपने पास तो क्या करूं, मतलब टेस्टर ही बन जाऊं क्या पूरे टाइम? तो दैट्स बीन द केस. या आई थिंक विद इंजीनियर्स तो ये बहुत ही ज्यादा आता है, बट कुछ अच्छे इंजीनियर्स होते हैं जो बोलते हैं यार PID में मेंशन नहीं था बट मैंने कमेंट कर दिया है तो ऐड कर देना.
What do you think is product management in its essence? Right, for someone who is really looking to find this answer, because this is also an area which has become quite popular in the last decade or so, but not very popular to like older people, especially in India, right? So how would you define product management?
Sure, again, difficult question. Have to answer it simply. But you also mentioned the tech aspects, right? So I'll also answer this context in the context of software product management, right? The digital tech enabled product management. So I'll try to answer it very briefly. Product management is the art of deciding what solution to build to solve certain user need or problem, right? And to simply say that a product manager is an expert of deciding what gets built, right? They are not an expert of what gets coded, what gets designed, what gets marketed. They are expert of what gets built. And to decide what gets built, there are three, you can say, expertise that you need to have. You need to understand your users deeply. What are their needs? What are their likings? What are their goals? Second is you have to be very strong first principles thinker, right? So you have to keep asking yourself why this is happening, why a certain user is behaving in a certain way, what is the need that is not fulfilled, why that need is not fulfilled, what are the other alternatives they're looking at, why they are not working, right? So that first principle thinking combined with very strong logical, rational problem solving along with creativity, right? So creative problem solving, you can say. So I have to summarize it in three aspects. Understanding user very deeply. Product management is deep user empathy. Product management is first principle thinking, and product management is creative problem solving. Combine these three, and you will have the art of good product management.
Got it. I think this covers what, at a macro, for example, you would be doing right now, or a PM who is, let's say, under you would be doing at right now to say, okay, we'll identify a problem, understand user needs, then define some problem statement around it, and then use the creative abilities to solve it. Right. Then how about any new person who is, let's say, just very open to this tech space, very fresh to this tech space? He only knows that, okay, there is always an app, there is always a website, back end hota hai, front end hota hai, अच्छा ये बनाने का मन करता है तो हम कोड कर देते हैं एंड ये हो जाता है,
Yeah,
राइट? सो हाउ डज दैट पर्सन ट्राई टू फिट himself in this journey, right? One
yeah,
is, of course, which you have covered, that okay, the problem solving of what to build, understanding users and solving it creatively is where he will envision, right? But if I were to talk about key, how does that person start preparing for this, right? To find himself a space. So what would be your approach there?
absolutely. I think before even I answer that question, right, I'm taking it like when someone wants to move into a PM space as a fresher, what
Hmm.
routes they can take, right? Entries to
Hmm.
product management. Before even that, I'd like to just give a good disclaimer per se. When you're deciding to explore product management as a space, irrespective of you being a fresher or let's say someone who's experienced and trying to move in, right? I think the first question you should ask yourself is why are you moving? Right? What
Hmm.
is it that product about product management that excites you? Right?
Hmm.
And what about product management drains you as well? Right?
Hmm.
So it's an exhaustive job, right? It's a very generalistic job that I'll also talk about in detail. But I've seen a lot of people just moving into product management for the prestige the role has,
Hmm.
right? That product management is well paid job, it is well respected, etc. So let's move, right?
Hmm.
And that almost never works out in the long run, right? You should have again, just like product management, you should have a first principle answer why product management is something that you would want to pursue. And the answer that a lot of people get is they love to build things using tech. They love to solve
Hmm.
user problems using tech. And also they love to create impact at scale, right? Through problem solving by building software products and all, right? They love to collaborate with a different set of people, right? From whom they learn, right? Some of these things might actually excite people, some of these things might drain people. So the first answer to have to ask yourself is question to ask yourself is basically what about product management excites me? Now assuming that you are very clear
Okay.
that product management is my calling, right? Or at least the way I have heard about it, it seems like one of the functions I would love to try out, right? I can tell you about a story about myself, how I somehow, without even realizing this is product management, ended up doing this. So in my college, I was fairly frustrated that my resume was not getting shortlisted for internships, etc.
Hmm.
Right? And I was trying to understand what is happening, and all the people from economics, all the people from maths or others were getting their resumes shortlisted like crazy, right? And it frustrated. I said technical, logical reasoning, etc. All things are taken care of. We have a good background from computer science, etc. Why is it that resumes are not getting shortlisted, right? And that's when I started comparing my resumes with other people who got shortlisted, right? And there I recognize a pattern. People were being selected not just on the parameter of their course or their technical ability or the complexity of problem solving that they can do based on their course, right? They were also being selected on extracurriculars that they're doing,
Hmm.
position of leaderships, etc. Then
Hmm.
I realized, oh, there's a pattern that people are being considered on multiple aspects. Now the objective for me was like how can I enhance my resume to do this, right? I took that route, but at the same time I also recognize the problem. It is not just me who fails to understand the parameters on a resume, right? A
Hmm.
lot of students would. So to address that need, we actually, me and my friend at college, started creating an algorithm to rate a CV,
Okay.
right? So first of all, we did it on Excel. We created a basic algorithm in terms of what parameters, how to rate, etc. And then we created on Excel, and we used to parse resumes and put data into that Excel
Hmm.
sheet to see how each resume is being calculated. This became fun for us, right?
Hmm.
We hired a freelance developer from freelancer.com and we created a website out of it.
Hmm.
And we used to upload resumes, we used to pass data, and we used to rank them. It was super fun for us. We never did it for the fun of for money or etc. We just loved doing it, and we then shared it with our friends as well, and everyone started liking it. Right? Eventually, it did not turn out into something that we continued, but then I realized this was product management, right?
Hmm.
Realizing that uh, there is a problem which can actually be solved with technology at scale. Why not leverage it, right? And this
Hmm.
ended up becoming one of my conversations in an interview that landed me a job in campus placement, right? So,
Wow.
so if I have to genuinely tell something how to move into product management, I would actually say if you're genuinely interested in solving a problem, try building something about it, right? It can be as hacky as an Excel sheet or a doc, code a doc, right? Or a Word
Correct.
doc. Anything that could be a solution to this. And you will
Hmm.
try to speak to your users or yourself how effectively this is solving a problem, right?
Correct.
And this should tell you that whether building is something that entices you, right? So this is one way. Start a side project, build something on your own. And now though no code tools are also there which you can
Correct.
try. But I personally find these hacky solves a lot more effective and exciting to just evaluate whether you are into product management. The other is also a lot of exercises have come into play which are called product tear downs, right? So you try to understand why a product is working, etc. And if you genuinely enjoy that thought process of tearing down a product, right? Do more of it, and you will realize that this is something that is building your product skill, right? So these are two ways you can say where people can start getting a taste of product management and also start getting a hang of like how can they kick off. My recommendation to someone who's in for it from a building side of view would be to start small, maybe if they generally want to enter product management right away, right? You can always start with an early stage startup company. There are enough opportunities now, right? And they're more than happy to experiment with driven people who want to build products, right? But if you want to genuinely get good coaching uh, at a scaled startup or at a growth company, they do have their own product management track routes. So, for example, I work at Meesho. Meesho has this APM route. So we hire freshers as APM one, right? Who then turn on to become product managers, etc. So that's one way you can always apply. And the skills that we are looking for are very basic logical problem solving skills, right? The cultural fit we are looking for and any product management should be looking for is the drive and resourcefulness to get things going, right?
Correct.
So you can always apply to these programs whenever they open up. Different companies also have a route from business analytics to product management, right? So, and one of the best ways to land the dream job is like just get into a product management internship. Now, a lot of companies are also doing that, right?
Correct.
So you get the hang of it without the risk of like not able to do well, etc. So three pathways I have to summarize. One is get a hang by building something and then start applying. Second is there are also these tear down competitions that you can do, and companies look for people who are doing tear down well to hire. By the way, Meesho has hired a lot of people through these tear downs. And third is these official routes of product management interns or product analytics or business analytics.
No, interesting, yeah, and I think all three are really valid to for anyone who is at a at a different space can choose one of the three possible approaches which you mentioned based on their journey. I think what I'm going to discuss next is a step ahead once you have entered into that product management suite, which is that product management is the space which lies, let's say, at the juncture of business and engineering, right? Product management comes in the center and says, okay, I'll take the business objectives, I'll define problems around it, solve something using my skills, and pass it on or get it done through the engineering piece. Now, even though you know independently your problem solving and so on, still, I think there is a learning curve on both the ends. One, managing the stakeholders on the business side and also understanding them well and their metrics and objectives. And second, ensuring that as objective as possible, you are able to help the tech and engineering team to get the output done in the right expected way, because they are kind of shielded from the direct business impact. Although now I see a lot, and I think engineers are anyways great problem solvers, and they go deeper and deeper into the problem business context and can directly see the impact. But still, while a PM is at the play, PM plays a lot of that bridge gapping role to say, okay, the right things have been worked upon and so on. How was your experience of learning these both segments? One which is interacting with the stakeholders, And second, which is interacting with the developers and engineers.
Absolutely. So once you've entered into product management, most likely your first interaction points would be designers, engineers, or data scientists, right? People who are actually builders, right? So no matter what, you still have to build a rapport with them, right? And I think my learning from the past years is that to build a rapport, you need to really know your shit, right? So to which basically means whenever you are proposing something to them, right, you need to have good homework done on why you are proposing what you are proposing. Have you thought of it deeply? And you earn their respect really fast if you are able to answer their doubts really well, and also accepting that some doubts will actually play out later, right, which you have not thought of today, which is fine. But I think that depth immediately, and also getting them involved in this thinking as early as possible, personally has helped me build that rapport, right? Otherwise, I used to struggle a lot early on that how engineers are working. They used to talk a lot of jargon, right? While I am from computer science background, why theoretical knowledge versus practical knowledge have always been a difference. So my first experience there would have been a struggle had I not built a good rapport with them through by doing my homework, right? By proposing what we're proposing and having deep understanding. So this, I personally believe, our engineers, designers are still the relatively easier partners because they understand at the end of the day you have to build something, get an output, right? They're very output and outcome driven. So that's been my experience. So you can say the journey here has been smooth because of the depth that you add, and they acknowledge the depth that you bring to the table, right? The journey where it's slightly difficult is, and as an early PM only, I actually realized that this was difficult. Later on, it became easier and even more contributing to some sense. So with a business person, you'll always realize that they are very smart in their own specific problem solving, right? They are owning a metric, they're owning a target, and they will know that what things need to move. So they will right away come to you with solutions, right? Please build this for me, right? And as an early PM, this was super frustrating for me, right? So if you're telling me what to build,
Don't tell me what to do. Tell me the
right?
problem.
If you're telling me what to build, then you're taking away my expertise to decide, right? And also, and this is how I used to think early on, that you're taking away my expertise. And then my job becomes a program manager's job, project manager's job, just to coordinate what you've decided, etc. Right? Writing talks about it. Right. But I actually realized that that relationship can be very well maintained if you choose to maintain it in a different way. And this was a learning I got over the years. When someone comes to you with a solution, right, you have two paths to take. One is basically cribbing about this guy's brought me solution, I'm not going to accept it and go back, right? Relationship broken up. But when they come to you with a problem, you can acknowledge with a solution, sorry, you can acknowledge, wow, this is something great that you have thought of. Can I just understand what's the problem that you were trying to solve? And then you debate and align on the problem first, right? Once that alignment is there, you have also gotten this person in your corner feeling that you are interested in what they want to solve, right?
Correct.
The second part that you say, okay, you gave me one solution, I can also think of these two different solutions for the same problem, right? So we should spend some time thinking about the solutions, right?
Correct.
Now this conversation can go in two ways. One is basically, are we both aligned the problem that we want to solve versus the problems that I am solving today? Which one is more important? If the alignment is the problem that you have brought in to me is more important, I will spend more time solutioning with you. But if the problem is relatively less important, I will very assertively communicate that this problem is well acknowledged, but maybe we'll have to visit later so that first we can focus on the problem at hand, which has bigger impact per se. But let's say this gets prioritized, that this is a bigger problem, then I will actually be a thought partner with this person and come with the right set of solutions. And in all this, I've learned two things. Thing number one, wow, someone has done the problem discovery for me, which is a great PM skill, right? This person has already sized that this is a big problem, etc. So one less alignment for me to take if it is a big problem, right? The second thing I've done is I've also gotten them as a thought partner. So they've become my thinking extension. And going forward, I can always rely on them for brainstorming, etc. But again, this has come after, you can easily say, 3-4 years of learning, right? Till 3-4 years, I was a shitty stakeholder manager, right? People used to say that इस बंदे के साथ तो collaborate करना मुश्किल है, etc. But I've learned that over a period of time, and somehow this has worked out well. So this is how I have learned and navigated the stakeholders on the engineering side, the stakeholders on the business side.
Got it. And I think because for me, I have kind of, played the role of a PM at multiple junctures as well. And sometimes coming from business and, when they're readily coming from with solutions, you tend to, and especially when you are early, you don't have a lot of experience, you tend to just accept that solution, अच्छा ठीक है बना देंगे. And बाद में जाके जब बना देते हो पता चलता है वो गलत ही है. That's not even the correct solution. Then you go back to the whiteboard and say कि अच्छा चलो problem सोचते हैं वापस दोबारा and do. But the right way is what you again said कि चलो problem पे साथ में align कर लो, objective पे साथ में align करो and then move forward. And of course, accept parts and pieces of their solution and also add your expertise on top of it, right? I mean, easier said than done. We discussed these two segments so easily, but when the situation is intense, when you are really working hard for a problem statement, there are a lot of friction which comes not only from the business team but also let's say from the devs. You were working on something and suddenly the priority changed. Suddenly you realize something more has to be added in the scope, and the engineer is not in a mood to accept that. So all these things, right? Let's also talk about how a real you know life cycle of product building looks like, right? Now we have identified there are three components, which is business, which is a product manager, which is the final output driving team, which is designer, engineers, and so on. How does this entire scheme of things fit in with these three functions, right? So let's say let's pick up Meesho only, right? Now you are a sized up company which is almost like more than 15 20 million users per day visiting, right? For a new problem statement to originate and to be shipped, right? What does the entire journey look like?
Absolutely. Sure. So I think I also have some learnings over the years, and somehow this has somehow become a framework for me now, right? Very strong guidance that I take from. So in product management, if you have to break the entire cycle into broad chunks, right? The two big parts are problem discovery, then you have product solutioning. This combined is called product discovery, right? From the problem to what to build. And then there is product delivery. So, and that we'll talk about in the execution part, right? And I'll try to explain what all stakeholders get involved early on. So as a product manager, you usually get a metric as a goal, right? We want to increase monthly transacting users. We want to increase time spent on the app as an engagement, etc. Right? So you have to understand what user needs are today unfulfilled or what problems they are facing, because of which a particular metric is not moving. I'll take an example here. We believe that conversion on a shopping app is not great because people don't understand quality as well as they should, right? We do have ratings and textual reviews, but people don't understand that very well because one, people don't read the reviews and ratings are very broad in some sense, right? So what do you do? So first of all, the identification that ratings don't work or textual reviews don't work is also a problem that you figured out, right? So this is where I actually take an engineering lead and a business partner with me to identify what problems can be solved. So you realize that, okay, people don't convert because problem level 1, quality is not understood. Problem level 2, why quality is not understood? Textual reviews are not read, ratings are very broad, right? Then you try to figure out what are the user needs or what are the things that users are resorting to. So they try to go understand in the merchandising image. This is what I learned, right? That how to understand this product better. They're trying to go understand from the description what are the attributes of the product that can give me quality, understanding, etc. So you have figured out a sub problem that people are not able to understand specific features of the product that they are trying to resort to, right? So this is problem identified. To move quality understanding for a user, you will need to explain them specific features very, very well, right? So this is called problem discovery. Involve every lead possible, right? Now to come to the right solution, you will have to do multiple things. And these are the 4 aspects that I follow. Aspect number 1, try to see what users are resorting to today. So they resort to images that suppliers had uploaded only, right? To understand, or specific attributes. Number 2, basically, what other people in the industry are doing, learn from others, right? Number 3, brainstorm with your partners as much as possible, right? Number 4, go creative as possible, right? Think out of the box. Now, do this, gather solution ideas and apply any prioritization framework. For example, RISE is a very popular framework, right? Reach, impact, confidence, effort. Apply that, you will narrow down on certain ideas. Let's assume we have narrowed down on 2 ideas. Idea number 1, from textual review, can you give a rating at an attribute level? Whether the quality in terms of material is great or not, right? And then number 2 idea, let's say, is adding real images, asking users to upload real images, right? To explain quality better. You can easily, now you can test these 2 ideas in prototypes with users, right? And then prioritize the one that users understand better. In this case, let's assume that users understood addition of like real images better than anything else to understand quality. They said, now I understand the quality much better because you are telling me exactly how the product looks, etc. So now you have also done the product solutioning part. You have identified what needs to be built. So your individual contribution is actually sorted out. Then comes the product delivery part. Now you have to get this real image feature executed by design, how users will upload. Now designer will do their own iterations on design, etc. You have to give them the space to make sure that
again, now it's their job, they will solve it.
It's their job, right? So you give them a product brief.
Statement.
Yeah, you give them a product brief. We want to solve quality understanding is a problem. We believe that people don't understand attributes of the product. To solve for it, we are believing that our hypothesis is that giving users access to real images of the product that other users upload will improve their comprehension, right? And it will improve conversion as well. That's the idea. You give this as a brief to a designer will try out 10 iterations, product delivery, and then you hand it over to an engineer. In all this, you're driving the entire collaboration between design, engineering, yourself, product, and to some extent data analytics as well. People will be asking for data to make certain decisions, right? So that's called entire execution piece. And at the end, you release something as an experiment and measure its results, right? So experimentation and analytics, right? So you will realize that these are the journey stages in a life cycle. I have seen 40%, easily 40% of my experiments failing and 60% succeeding. So that's
a good number.
Yeah. So that's the usual, you can say, average that you land onto as a product manager. So in product management, once you do the experiment, scale, release, analysis, etc., my recommendation, it's okay to fail in an experiment. What is not okay to not know why you failed.
Correct.
Right? So that you can learn from it. So yeah, these are the journey steps. Basically, there is problem discovery, there is product solutioning, there is design and engineering development, and then there is experiment and analysis. That's how, and this is usually the framework a lot of companies also follow mostly.
Correct. And I think what I personally is very concerned about amongst the entire cycle, of course, is also that collaboration wala bit. That okay, you are taking the problem statement. The problem statement has to reach in the right shape and form to the engineer to execute. And for that, you need, let's say, a well-written document, call it a PRD or a BRD or whatever you call it. But that needs to be properly maintained, properly jotted down, communicated in a fashion that the engineers, designers, even the data analysis guys also understand well. And that is also, I think, a key element of the role
Absolutely.
when you are a PM, right? Because
Absolutely.
otherwise
So
information gets lost so easily.
it is. So if you ask me, like my PRD start as a one pager, which is what I called
Hmm.
a product brief, right?
Hmm.
But with every conversation with a designer or an engineer, I keep improving it. So it's a live
Hmm.
document that keeps getting updated till the time you scale up. So my
Hmm.
PRD will have the user problem understanding, what solution to build, then finally how to measure success, the entire user story. Like you divide entire feature into different user stories, right?
Hmm.
And once you scale up, right, you also write the impact numbers in that document. So
Hmm.
to me, it's a live document. Everything that I'm doing, it's almost like as a scientist, you're recording everything that you're doing, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people put that one-time effort. Let me just write the PRD and get it over with. To me, it's more like you make it a
It's
live
an
document with
evolving
every
job.
conversation.
Correct.
Absolutely, right? So it's a very important communication tool that I believe, right?
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people are also, and this is my controversial opinion, a lot of people also get into this fallacy of you have to follow a PRD format to the T, right?
Hmm.
My recommendation would be start brief and then adapt that format as per your organization, whatever
Hmm.
works,
Correct.
right? So a lot of people just, so the longer your PRDs, chances that it's not going to get read well by engineers. They're going to use their own assumptions and do things, right? So
Hmm.
keep it crisp, keep it evolving. But yeah,
Hmm.
do use written communication so that nothing gets lost in translation.
Absolutely. Coming on to next, which is something I really think about a lot, moving the future, how startups are going to be built, companies are going to be built with the introduction or not, rather introduction is not the word, but with fast adoption of the AI thing, in the real world where you can just type a prompt and get, let's say, 100 ideas in the blink of a second versus which would have taken you, let's say, months to even just think of, right? I'm sure you, because I know you might have anyway spent a lot of time exploring, learning, and understanding pros and cons of it. But what is your state of mind related to AI right now? In the sense, how do you think the job or the role of a PM will be impacted? Will it become more collaborative, or will it be like replaced in some places, or whatnot? I want to have your
Absolutely.
view there.
Absolutely. So if you ask me in one word, I have to just summarize, right? What do I feel about this AI wave? I'm very curious about it. What's gonna happen,
Hmm.
right? So here's a punt that you can say I'm gonna make a prediction for myself and work in
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
direction. The prediction that I have for myself as a PM or how the role of a PM would change for AI, right? Again, it's a prediction, can go wrong for sure, but this is what I genuinely feel is
Hmm.
that to me, AI is gonna be a very strong enabler, right?
Hmm.
In terms of a very good thought partner, you can say, a very good
Hmm.
execution partner as well, right? But still an enabler. Uh, what it would help me do is maybe it will automate a lot of program management items, relaying
Hmm.
messages to different people at
Hmm.
the same time, right? A lot of calendar schedules for different alignment meetings, it should do for me a lot of like reading my behavior patterns, etc. It will also automate a lot of grunt tasks, for example, fetching numbers on lows on a daily basis. Can you
Hmm.
summarize those numbers for me, right? A lot of grunt work, finding anomalies in day-to-day tasks. It should reduce a lot of that. Also will make brainstorming faster, creativity, as you
Correct.
mentioned, right? So to me, all the things that were more execution and program management related for a PM will
Hmm.
actually be fast tracked because of this. So PM who does not actually, program management is a meaningful part of product management, right? You have to coordinate a
Correct.
lot of
So
things.
subset.
But to a lot of people, it is also a lot of grunt work, right? Which does not utilizes their skill well. So happy news, if it happens, is that a lot of that is going to get automated, right?
Hmm.
Which means you will have more time to spend on creative thinking, genuinely understanding problems, right? So the part that no AI, at least from what I understand, can take away is deep user empathy and identifying user needs. I don't
Yeah.
think it can understand that really well. It can only understand what it has been taught, right? Something absolutely new is going to be very difficult, right? So identifying the right user problems is something that I
I
genuinely
think,
think.
yeah, even I think of it on a lot. It's great to get new ideas, to get fresh perspectives, which helps in the creative problem solving or the brainstorming part of it. But putting that context is the key, right? Because if if the problem statement is same but it has different context, the solution will change, right? So although
Absolutely.
it will bring more creative solution and juices, but you have to have that context. And I, as a tech evangelist, I also feel like in higher degrees, as we move forward and this ecosystem matures, there will be a significant portion of this context also, which we can, then pass on to this model or some new model which comes along. And
Absolutely.
then the thing would be that how do you identify the entire context, train the model, and choose your or use your judgment to choose the right model and execute. So definitely going to save a lot of energy on for you, give you a lot of creative ideas, but then I think you will have to sail it through.
No, no, absolutely. I agree. And that context, as you talked about, right? That context is basically what do you know about the user that AI does
Correct.
not?
Correct.
What do you know about their lives, problems, needs,
Correct.
latent needs that AI cannot have? So it will, unless you give that context, the solutions that you're gonna get as ideas are also gonna be generic.
Mm.
So that thinking of what solution will solve the problem as well will still lie on the PM, right? So
Mm.
they can always take help from AI in their brainstorming, creative thinking, etc.
Mm.
But that decision of what solution to build, I still believe that uh, will be with the PM. What they will be able to more enabled is like because of all this, tech is going to be much more faster, right? You will be able to build things faster. So
Mm.
things that you were rejecting in thought, you can actually now build them and test. Is
Correct.
what I see.
Definitely. Definitely. Because of the enablement, I think a lot of time spent on the usual stuff gets removed, and hence for you to work on the main key pointers or key things where you can add contribution, you just speed up that process.
So, yeah. So very crisply enough phrase, I think with AI, product management should become AI enabled product management.
Hopefully that PMs don't lose their jobs.
Looking forward with curiosity there for sure.
Correct, correct. How do you, and I think we had this conversation when we met in person also, but how do you differentiate a great PM versus a good PM?
How do I differentiate a great PM with a good PM? That's a tough one. There's an article that's already written for this. Yeah, but let me also try to add my own flavor, and it comes from very strong personal experience, right?
Mm,
A great PM genuinely has let me also try to answer it in two aspects. One is character
mm,
traits, the other is
mm,
competencies, right?
mm,
So let me, competencies is easy to answer, I can tell. So in competencies, I think, as I told you as well, a good product manager will understand a problem. Like, for example, users don't understand quality,
mm,
and let me start building something out, right? And they will come up with a very logical solution. For example, can I give color to ratings so that
mm,
people understand? Very logical solution, right? But also very incremental solution. That this will solve the problem to some extent, but very incremental. It will not really explain the features that users were looking for about a product very well.
mm,
A great product manager will go 2-3 level deeps with their first principle thinking to understand that understanding of attributes is very important for quality understanding. And let me solve that by real images,
correct.
right? So that's going to be a difference between a good PM and a great PM, that depth of first principle thinking. I genuinely think,
Mm,
and this also translates to very strong user empathy, right?
mm,
You will go first principles to develop your user empathy. So a great PM will always think user first. A good PM will understand user problem in a L1 setup and will be solving it right away. That's one competency. The other competency that I think is gonna be creativity. I call it in multiple forums. I'll call it here as well. Product management is more art than science, right?
Okay.
Everyone tries to put frameworks, right? Again, yet another controversial opinion. Frameworks are not going to make you great PM. How you leverage your framework to do structured thinking and yet apply creativity, non-linear thinking, right? Only today I remember we were actually discussing, this is a matter of time. We were discussing that, so how can you reduce prices for users, right? That was a thought process that was going on. You can reduce prices for users by getting lower prices from sellers right away, right? You say that you will get more orders, etc. You show products which are lower in prices so that they get more orders, and you can make a case to the seller that it's going to be there. But a non-linear thinker would also see that users actually buy combos of daily wear, of daily things, right? If you give them things together and reduce prices, right? Because shipping is going to be lower. You are putting things together, right? Price is going to reduce. They will actually buy more from you with lower prices, right? Which is non-linear, not very straightforward way of reducing prices. So again, this is one small example of creativity. Anything else can happen, right? So I think product managers who can actually think non-linear while being user first will also be will be the great PMs, right? So these are two things. Baki sab are mostly are skills that can get built up. The third skill, which I think as you become a product leader, from a good to great product leader, a lot of people call this influence and communication for a product management, right? You have to be great at influence and communication. I genuinely think you have to be great at people relationships.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's not something that every job requires it, but as a product manager, your capability to inspire people, your capability to, and influence is subtly, you can say with a negative connotation, the word is, but your capability to actually inspire them to do things, to follow your path, right, is gonna be very important. You will have to align engineers, you will have to align business partners, right, to follow the path that you are proposing. So your capability to do that is something that is a function of your credibility and the relationships, right? Credibility you can build with impact, confidence, by doing your homework, etc. But the more important part, which will support you as a great leader, is going to be that people relationship. So, and that people relationship also comes from great empathy, good at listening, etc. Right? So I try to keep it very fundamental that a great PM will be great at basics versus a good PM will be aware of basics yet not apply them in most cases, right? So this is on the competency part. On traits part, I think the one trait that comes on the top of my mind is humility, right? You will fail so many times in your life as a product manager, right? Can you let go of your ego, right? That how can I be wrong versus yes, I am wrong and I will correct it going forward, right? Is one of the traits that will help you, right? I think that's something that I found. Product managers who are more humble have succeeded more often than product managers who are not.
I think this trait is anyways a growth mindset trait, and that really helps people who do really well in their lives, because especially in uncertain areas, when you're trying new things, building new stuff, problem solving new stuff, you're bound to fail, right? So keeping that ego aside and keeping that zone of humility alive to say, okay, I failed and grow. And I also conceptually agree to your non-linear thinking wala part. In fact, that should not be a PM trait only. That should be the trait of any problem solver, right? To consider, at least, maybe not implement because there are other factors if you want to implement, but at least have that linear approach available to you, because at any point of time you will have so many constraints always in the system. Maybe you want to take that combo wala route, but for some reason, some, let's say, regulations or product mismatch, seller mismatch, you can't execute that. But in the first place, to have or to allow that room of thinking is needed. Otherwise, you tend to just go on the linear paths. So
So I agree with you 100% that this humility trait is a very growth mindset
I
trait
also
that I
feel
think.
that like PM is a very creative space to be in, and yet it's like running a show, right? You have to execute this by the end. You have your actors here and there. You have dedicated I would say uh, pieces of or mini objectives for each person out there, and you have to ensure that the crew comes together to ship something, to build something, and then say, okay, we did this, understand the measure and take it. So it's kind of the job where you are at a pedestal in some sense, and you are influencing people to act in a certain way. Be it sometimes you have to push business people out there, right? Saying, "Ki boss, wait, this is a complex problem. We need some time." Or sometimes you have to push the engineers and devs out there, कि नहीं भाई कुछ भी करो sprint मारो but खत्म करना पड़ेगा, and get the heat from both sides different flavors.
Agreed.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think that's something ये तो करना ही पड़ता है, कुछ choice नहीं है. But at least यहाँ पर वो people skills helps a lot, right? Like when you have good
Correct.
relationship, you can always say, yeah, this is important because of ABC reason,
Hmm.
and they also tend to follow your path, right? Just one
Correct.
addition to this trait wala part, right? Humility is definitely one. Something that I've also realized is optimism, right? As a product manager, you will need a lot of optimism in your life.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you will get bogged down by anything that comes your way,
Hmm.
and you'll have to struggle your way through, right? ऐसा नहीं होगा हर पार्टनर मान जाएगा एक बारी में,
Correct.
and if you easily give up तो हो गया. So optimism and resilience are two traits that I think great product managers should have. They will not easily give up, as well as they will find a ray of hope even when there is not any, right? So they will go deep and find it.
I know you are an optimist, but I'm more curious about the page you run, which is the optimist in me. That started after you became a PM and you realized the importance, or it was prior?
Yeah. So actually, no.
I'm
This
assuming, I'm like imagining Gagan going into the job, right? Solving problem, and then suddenly he realized, boss, I need to be more optimistic. Let me also start a page on the side.
नहीं, दिस इज इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट. नहीं होता ये होगा एक्चुअली यार, आज थोड़ा होप कम लग रहा है, चलो पेज पे जाके थोड़ा कुछ पढ़ लेते हैं, तो ऑप्टिमिज्म आ जाएगा थोड़ा लाइफ में. So that becomes a source of inspiration to cope up with day-to-day job.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it started after only my job, but the reason for it was like very different. Like I you can say a moment of epiphany in one of the travel trips, right?
Acha.
Happens that, oh damn, already thinking about a lot of positive things. Why not just pen them down and share with the world? So the optimist
Yeah.
in me page came into being in one of those trips. Had less to do with product management, but yes, whenever
More to
product
do with life.
management, but whenever product management happens to bog you down, the page usually helps to bring you back up.
Hmm. Cool. I think all this was all I had about the product management thing, but I am still yet to ask the most important question I have to ask from you, that in general, how do you have this optimistic and happy vibe? Because I think not only during this podcast, but based on the time spent together, I feel as a person you have more of it compared to many other folks around. But you know better, and I know you are a highly self-aware person, so probably you also know the degree of optimism and positive attitude you generally carry. But I'm sure you might have thought through about this a lot. There is some innate behavior, but you being a deep thinker might also have thought a lot to mold yourself or build yourself in a certain way. So tell me more about it.
Sure, yeah, I think we are a product of our circumstances as well, right? So had some interesting experience early on in the life that gave me the realization that
Hmm.
life is going to be tough. Why not look at it from a very bright side and make it happen, right?
Hmm.
So, and that actually, I remember specific points in time where I realized, no, I have to look at the brighter side and move mountains here, right? And that actually led to those tough situations, though, and that realization in that aspect that you need to be more on the positive side to get things done for your favor, right? I think that root got planted very early in my life, and somehow that is only growing and growing very heavily, and I generally am grateful to life for that. So very difficult to explain where this optimism comes from, but you can say circumstances and early on in life, those two things happened together, which led to more optimism in life. The other thing, which is more actionable in this sense, I think with those early realization, I also built this habit of reflection, right? Reflecting what is going well at this time, reflecting and very consciously focusing on what is going well, right? And what can get better. So a lot of people have way of reflection in terms of, yeah, things that are not going well, usko solve karte hain. Let me reflect what's not going well and solve it. You end up getting more frustrated. To me, I think I've always been very conscious about what is going well. Let me be grateful to what is going well and give more positive energy to this, right? And this habit of reflection is almost a weekly thing, right? So, and now I've started writing these down. So for better clarity, so yes, if I have to say that, and from an action item point of view, where this optimism comes from, it's primarily reflecting on what went well over the last few days, last few months.
I think
What I'm
that
grateful
you're talking
for.
about gratitude there.
Gratitude and very about positive things, right?
Correct.
What is going well in your life? How can you drive more energy from it? So somehow that makes me keep things on the lighter side. But I also have my own sad days. Yeah, matlab, when I'm sad.
No, I understand. Everyone has breakups and stuff, so I'm sure.
Sure.
I'm sure there might be days,
Sure.
but yeah, honestly and very genuinely, because so I've been also this guy, right, coming from a very small space and always thinking that you have to do something which is 100x bigger than yourself, create impact and so on. And not only that, but life is supposed to be unfair. Life is supposed to be random and throwing random things, right? So you can't always be in a certain negative state because that also takes the possibility of solving things and looking things differently. And so like moving from being reactive to what you said through reflection to be a great person who can respond, right? So reacting to responding, I think in this, the reflection is the part to this. Otherwise, you end up only reacting to things, and probably you don't need to. I mean, there are, of course, 100 things going wrong, but there are 200 things happening right, including that you are alive, including that so many things. And I can go on a philosophical, deeper discussion here, but
You've gone on a gratitude route.
correct, but it's so true, right? I mean, we just I feel that it's a local optima problem that you might be on an optima already, right? And someone might be down there on his own optima. You don't even know, and you're just cribbing. I personally feel not that I've been able to 100% move out of that cribbing nature in life, but I generally feel and try to impose that rule on myself, saying that there are 100 things you can be good, happy, feel happy, be more positive about, and use that energy, because there are going to be energy giving sources and there are going to be energy taking sources. So if you have more sources, or even you hypothetically generate more sources where you are able to take out more energy, then of course will come what may, right? Since you have energy, you will be able to deploy them well, and you'll not get exhausted, or you will be able to handle the situation. So this is how what I see. But I really align. I think I'm way behind compared to you in that journey, but I
This is
really
cribbing. This is cribbing you what you just
no,
said.
this is not giving. This is
Local
just
optima होगा
self-awareness.
तुम्हारे पास यार.
This is just self-awareness that it is good to say that okay, this is the possibility to reach at a place where you can just be more positive about things. And
Yeah,
I feel if you approach any problem statement with more energy, you are in life and work professionally, personally, you are bound to get better and more solutions. So this is how I
agreed,
feel.
agreed. And just
So
one addition to that, I think one is like the positive side of thing, looking at the positive side of thing, and it's not always going to be that, right?
yeah,
There will always be time where things are not going to go as per what you would have wanted. I think something that I've realized over the past few years is that when things are not going as per your expectation, there are two aspects of circumstances: things that are in your control, things that are beyond your control, right?
correct. The Stoic philosophy, sir.
uh, just be focused on things that are in your control.
Control.
I think
Correct.
a lot of us just take worry on things that are beyond our control and just become so resentful of ourselves, become so resentful of the world. It just drains you out of energy, right? Versus if you're empowered to think that these are the things I can control and let me just invest in that, that just gives so much, at least to me, it gives a lot of peace that I tried the best I can and let the universe make it happen,
Mm.
right? So that's where you can also say some bit of optimism comes
The
in interactive
optimist
times.
in me has awakened. Thank you, Gagan.
Happy to, man, happy
Thank,
to.
thank you for the kind words. But again, great time doing this. That really was able to relate to a lot of things, and of course, got a lot of insights myself. Plus, I think this would be a bomb episode for people who are looking to enter the product management space, or even just look how the life of a PM and how generally things are. So thank you for taking out time. And yeah,
Thanks, man. Thanks, Dev, for doing this. This has been a pleasure and an honor in some sense that we did this. But yeah, happy to share my learnings for anyone who's aspiring to become a product manager, taking this route. I just have good things to say about the role. You're just so empowered to do things, right? But this is also some of the more responsible roles.
mm.
So believe that you will be held accountable. Just one thing that I just realized was that success is a team success, but a failure is a PM's failure, right? So yeah, this
पीएम ने
the job
पीआरडी
is
में नहीं
hard.
लिखा था.
बड़ी बता दिया, रिलीज से पहले निकाल दिया. But
Correct.
yeah, I think अब बैकलॉग में डाल दिया है तो प्लीज यूज कर लेना.
नहीं यार,
So
I
yeah,
will also put your social handles out there. So in case just folks want to reach out, just to connect, just to learn,
more than
people
happy
should
to,
feel
yeah. But
happy. Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this, yeah.